Well, with Godzilla and Kong pretty much just mopping up at the box office, today's episode I wanted to look back at their first bout and the merchandise that came about of it. Most specifically, these two bad boy Bandai figures right here, which represent a kind of a cornerstone of early Godzilla collecting. So, King Kong versus Godzilla, personally to me, is my second favorite Godzilla movie of all time. I absolutely love it. Before any of this multiverse crossover Marvel comic book stuff, before aliens, well, sadly fought the Predator in a, movie that really wasn't that good, and before Freddy fought Jason after years of buildup, the world demanded what would happen if America's biggest monster, which was King Kong at the time, and Japan's biggest monster, Godzilla, fought. And they did that in 1962. And you know what? It lived up to all the hype. Say what you will, I know a lot of Kong fans don't care for King Kong versus Godzilla, but I love it. It is the definition of what makes a great Godzilla movie. It's got fights, it gives time to both monsters, Godzilla already being established, and the universe that Godzilla exists in, they had to establish Kong. So instead of being from Skull Island, he's from Faro. He likes getting drunk on berries, and occasionally will bite a piece of electrical equipment and get shock powers. It's crazy. It's fun. It's a giant brawl of a film, which is kind of what you go to these monster movies for. So Toho, along with a producer named John Beck, got together in the early 60s and gave us this mighty clash. Bandai, who was just getting into the proper vinyl figure game with the Godzilla series, decided to launch their line with this guy in particular. The chonkiest of Godzillas. Yes, look at him in all of his magnificent glory. Now, for me, as a little personal side note, this Godzilla figure holds a lot of sentimental value. Why? Because it was technically my first Godzilla Bandai vinyl figure. It wasn't my first Bandai vinyl. That belongs to the King Caesar figure that came out. But this guy was given to me by my father, who got it in a trade with another dude, and it has been with me ever since I was a young boy. Like going back to like 8 years old. I'm 40 now. Ooh. So this has been in my collection for a very long time. It is a cornerstone, as I said, and I absolutely love it. It represents a time when Bandai kind of put a lot more thought and effort into their figures. Today, this would be, sadly, a $120 figure in their high-end line. But back in the day, no, this is what was on store shelves in Japan that kids could buy for probably like $8 to $10. He stands at a full 8.5 inches. He is actually very well sculpted and detailed. He's a little dusty. I haven't had time to clean everything. I am in the middle of a move, so that will come after. But he does look spectacular. It is complete suit accuracy, which is more or less what you want out of these guys. He is also one of the most sought after Bandais ever, because he was one of the first. Many collectors have sought this one out for years. It has been reissued a few times, most notably in the Bandai Memorial box from 2004. That guy had a different color scheme to him. This one, though, this is the best one. He's actually kind of light too, as you can see. There is a China knockoff version of this figure that floats out there that some people end up finding, but for the most part, if you can find the original in any shape, especially if you can find it with a tag, he does fetch quite the price on eBay. I've seen him go as far as $250. So, but he is not the only one. There's another rare figure that holds just as much of attention. That's right, Toho's King Kong. Now, the fact that this thing even got made is still shocking to me. I think there was a little bit of skipping on rights, because Toho didn't outright own King Kong. They licensed it. And this guy was made back in 89, 90, when Toho was contemplating doing a remake to King Kong vs. Godzilla. They unfortunately ran into rights issues with Universal, tried to use Mechanic Kong. That fell to the wayside because rights issues with that because of, likeness things. And pretty much, that put the kibosh on it until years later when Legendary did the impossible and got the two to meet again. So the thing with this guy is that he was only issued once. This is the only Bandai of King Kong, at least the Toho King Kong, that has ever been made. Now, there have been model kits and a bunch of other stuff that have been produced before, but as far as figures go, Bandai has never reissued this guy, which makes him highly sought after. Now, as for the sculpt, he's pretty good. He's very, very movie accurate. This is the thing about the 90s Bandai figures that they did very well. They got very close to what the suits offered. He's got a solid paint job. My figure's in decent shape. I mean, at this point, finding one with the tag is nearly impossible. He does have a little bit of a standing issue, but if you keep him hunched over like that, in that sweet butt shot, he displays very well. So if you're new to this fandom, if you're new to collecting, this gives you a little insight to what we had to work with back in the day. Like I said, there are many more high-end pieces you could collect. I doubt we're ever going to see a SH Monster Arts of this guy ever. We've already seen this one reissued in several different lines, but that's the case. But here, these are the OGs. And with the movie out, I kind of wanted to go exploring. So, excuse me if this one was a little bit of just a little nostalgia bait on my behalf. But they're cool, old school action figures. And that will do it for this episode. Remember, if you like what you see, we do have a show. It's called the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast. You can find us at thekaijukingdompodcast.com. Or if you don't like downloading, you can find our show on all of your favorite streaming services, including Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you might get better podcasts. We're also on social media. You can find us on X at The Kaiju Kingdom, Instagram at The Kaiju Kingdom, and Facebook.com/The Kaiju Kingdom Podcast. And that'll do it for this very short edition of the Koffers. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.